Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
So, my husband travels a lot because of his work, and I live in Arizona alone. I run my own business from home and sell my products all over the world. Because I needed a lot of space to run the business, I bought myself a two-floor house with four bedrooms, a hall, a living room, and a basement and a separate open area, which I've remodeled as my office. Because I ended up having more space than I needed, I didn't mind letting my in laws live with me after my father in law got sick a few years ago and they needed to sell the house to pay the hospital bills. At that time, neither my business was well established so that I could have lent them money, nor my husband made enough to pay for everything. So my in laws ended up renting a house in Arizona, and when I bought this house, they moved in with me. I don't ask them for rent or anything, and they usually help me out with the kids when I'm working, so it wasn't that bad of a situation. That was until my dad passed away a few months ago, and I inherited his estate too. As I was the only child and his next of kin, I got everything he owned. When my in laws found out about it, their reaction was of shock and jealousy. At that time, I brushed it aside, thinking anyone would be jealous of the life I live, and it wasn't uncommon for them to react that way the first time they hear something like that. I convinced myself they didn't care much about my wealth and like who I am. But about a week ago, they showed me their true colors. When I was taking a break from my work, my mother in law told me that they had something they needed to talk to me about. When I asked her what it was, she invited me to the living room and we all sat down. I thought they had some kind of trouble or something, but my father in law said that they have been thinking a lot, and he thinks that it'll be better for them to live alone and enjoy their life as they are finally not bound by any responsibilities. He said that as they're both nearing 60, it's about time for them to just relax and not look after their grandchildren or worry about living with their daughter in law. I didn't find that request unreasonable. And maybe it's possible they can't let loose as much when I'm around as they would like to. So I told him it sounds like a great idea and I will support them in that. That's when the surprises began to come out. My mother in law said that now that I agree with them, I should also give this house we live in, as moving at this age would be a trouble for them, and I already have two houses under my name, so I could always move into the other one. Never mind the fact that they just asked me for my house, but they really thought that I'd move my business elsewhere. I told them very clearly that's not possible because this location is the most ideal for me, as all my suppliers take a maximum day to deliver products. And they are all quite near me, so in emergencies I could always make a trip down to the stores. Also, it was their idea to move and live peacefully, so they should be the one to move, as it really wouldn't make sense for me to uproot my kids and my business only to settle at an unknown place. But they didn't really like what I had to say, and my father in law told me to reconsider what I was saying. But there was nothing to reconsider. They are the house guests, and they are the ones who are unhappy with their living situation. So they should be the ones to move out, and I told them so. Now my father in law got annoyed and said that I really should give them the house, since I'm a millionaire and it wouldn't be good for my business's public image if my clients found out how badly I treat my in laws and that I kick two elderly people out. Now I was mad. They are threatening to cancel me if I don't agree with them. That was complete and utter BS, and I wasn't about to take it sitting down. So I told them to give me a minute while I rethink. I got up quietly and went to the washroom, and in there, I took my phone and started recording. I wanted the whole conversation as proof if they decide to do me dirty. I went back and told them straight how ridiculous their demand was, and that they have been living in my house rent-free for more than a year now. And now that they have the sudden urge to live alone, I am under no obligation to give them my house. In fact, I wasn't even required to let them stay here, but I did it because I respected my husband's parents. And if they are going to act all greedy, they are welcome to leave. My father-in-law got serious and started to threaten me again, and this time I recorded everything. When he was done, I took out the phone and showed him the recording. I told him that now that I have proof, he can't harm me in any way, and I am done with people like them. I told them they have a week to pack their bags and find a house to live in because they aren't welcome under my roof anymore. I also told them that they are not to tell their son anything about what happened because I don't want him to get worried for no reason, and that we'll pretend like it was my in-laws' decision to move out for their own sake. My in-laws were speechless at what I said. I knew that they had no money and they depended on me and their son financially. So when I told them I wouldn't help them at all, they'll have no choice but to struggle to make financial ends meet. But I am not going to pity slick bastards like them who try to intimidate me. And they can always ask their own son for help. It's not like he doesn't have any money. Granted, he ain't a millionaire like me, but I'm sure he could get them a small house to live in if he wants to. So am I being an a-hole for thinking like that? Should I have helped them out after all? So I guess my in-laws did as I told them to do and didn't tell my husband the whole truth because he called me an hour ago and asked me to help them out financially for now. He said with how much money I make, it shouldn't be a problem, and I should also go house hunting with them to make sure they find a comfortable house. Now, I didn't think my husband would ask me for help either. I asked him why he isn't paying, and he said he's in a tight spot currently, as he invested most of what he got in the new branch they were opening in Asia. So he can't spare enough funds to buy them a house currently. I knew he invests a lot, and it sometimes bugs me that I run the house on my money. I got irritated and decided there's no need for me to lie here anymore, so I told him that I can't buy his parents a house, and that his parents tried to demand that I give them this house we're living in. As expected, he was shocked to hear about it. He said that is not possible, and his parents would never do something like that, and I sent him the recording as proof. After he listened to it, he was thoroughly dejected, kept saying how could they even think about something so shameful. Before he hung up, he said, I don't have to talk to them and he'd take care of the whole matter. I was glad that he was on my side, and I think I felt immensely proud for my choice of marrying that man. I don't know what he is going to say to my in-laws, but I hope whatever it is will get them out of this house because I can't even bear to look at them. I've lost all respect for those spineless a-holes, and I can't have these kinds of people around my kids who are still at an age where they can be easily influenced. So my in-laws moved out today. Finally, I'm able to breathe in better air. My husband was really angry at them, and by their faces, it looked like he did show them what their true place is. I might be their daughter-in-law, but I still didn't owe them anything, and they should have known that from the start. Now they have moved into a one-bedroom rental apartment, which my husband is paying for, and he'll give them a monthly allowance to make sure their needs are met. I didn't care about how much financial help he provided him as long as they stayed away from me and my kids. Before they left, I also told them that they aren't allowed to visit me or my kids ever, and before they try to intimidate me again, they should think about what happened real hard. My husband has also told them that he is ashamed of them and that he doesn't want to be associated with them. Although he's helping them financially, they should think of it as charity because they raised him and shouldn't expect anything more from him. I'm still amazed at how in a few weeks their lives turned completely upside down, all because they underestimated me and took my kindness as me being a pushover. My husband finally came back home last week, and true to his words, he didn't visit his parents or even talk about them at all. So when my in-laws found out that he was in town, they came over to my house. I was surprised to see them because in the last 6 months, we haven't contacted each other in any way. I asked them what they want from me, and they said they are here to make things right. I told them it's a little late for that, and no matter what they say, things can't go back to how it was, and they said they just need me and their son to listen to them. So we gave them a chance, and frankly, I wasn't expecting an apology that sincere. They said how they've been living in regret of their choices and the fact that they let their greed overpower them. They didn't think about anything until their son completely cut off all contact with them, and they are really sorry about how things turned out to be. They don't want us to completely forgive them for what they did, but they would appreciate it if we can at least start to work towards mending our relationship and talk once in a while. We are the only family they have, and they don't want things to be the way they are. My husband really fell for their words, but I wasn't about to just forgive what they said to me. So I told my husband I don't care if he has a relationship with his parents, but I can't forgive them for threatening me, and they shouldn't expect me to be the bigger person here. My husband understood what I was trying to say, and I walked out of the room. After they had left, we did talk about what happened, but not once did he push me to give him a chance. And I keep wondering what I did to deserve a man so good like him. NTA, no way you're the a-holes. You did the right thing. Money changes people, and we saw that in your in-laws' case. Good on you to recognize what they were trying to do and not be a doormat like so many of the other posters here. NTA, nah, man, they brought it upon themselves, and they deserve to be homeless, in my opinion. The only advice I'll give is that you should tell your husband the truth and see where he stands. It'll really tell you what kind of a man he is. I, 30 female, married my husband, Joe, 32, 4 years ago. I have a 8-year-old son from a previous relationship, and we have another son on the way. We live in a 3-bedroom in a school district that is hard to find housing in, but it's one of the best in the area. I love our home. I love the school. I love the neighborhood. Here's where our issue begins. 3 months ago, Joe received a friend request on Facebook from a 13-year-old boy with our last name. The resemblance was insane. It was like looking at a picture of Joe at that age. At first, we thought he could be a cousin, but Joe did a little digging. The kid's mom was an ex of Joe's, and the age lined up perfectly. He accepted the request and almost immediately got the message we were expecting. My name is name. I'm 13 and my mom name says you are my dad. Messages and calls were sent. A DNA test was done. The child is Joe's. That was fine with us. Joe was upset that he wasn't told sooner and that he missed his son's entire life. But we started visiting and talking to him constantly. We are now at the point where he has spent a few nights at our home. We absolutely love him, and he's a great addition to our family. On to the title. Joe wants his son to have his own room. Fine by me. I just figured we would redo what was going to be the nursery into his room, and the baby would share a room with us. It seemed like the most logical thing to do. Joe doesn't like this, though. He wants all 3 boys to have their own rooms. He started house hunting, but all he has found was houses out of the boys' school district. Both of our sons are in the same school until next year. This was not okay with me. I told Joe we have plenty of time before we would absolutely need a bigger house. And we could spend that time finding one that my son, and eventually our youngest, wouldn't have to change schools. This sparked an argument between Joe and I because he doesn't think it's reasonable. I told him I was putting my foot down. I'm not moving until we can find a house in our school district. Joe is now refusing to talk to me. He thinks I don't care about any of the kids, while I think I'm thinking about all 3 of them. AITA? I think having the baby stay in your room for a couple of years while you wait for a good house in your desired location is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Possibly even better than having a separate nursery due to midnight feedings, etc. Joe is being unreasonable, even though his heart is in the right place. There's no pressing need to move right now. NTA. It would be massively unfair to make your 8-year-old son change schools so that Joe's son can have his own room when he doesn't even live there, and the baby gets his own room when he doesn't need it. Your son is dealing with a brother he never knew about, a brand new baby. His parents are fighting, and now he's supposed to move and change schools? No, don't do that to him. He needs a safe space to deal with all of this, and his friends and his school. Too much is changing. Don't add more change for no reason. Compromise by moving within the school district, but take your time. Maybe next summer. Holy cow, what is the rush? Let the bigger boys have the other rooms. Keep the baby with you for a while. Find a realtor. Slow the heck down. Stop panicking. NTA, your plan to co sleep with the baby is the best plan. And this gives each of the older boys their own room. It sounds like your husband is in a snit because he doesn't like the delay. But the fact is that co sleeping with babies, in the room, if not the bed, is normal for humans. Your plan to keep your son in a good school is the best all around. So, I'm a 14-year-old female and I'm in high school. I'm a freshman. It's the third week of the school year, and I buy my own breakfast every day. Normally, I get some kind of sandwich and eat half of it for breakfast and the other half for lunch. Today, I decided I would splurge a little bit and I bought a chopped cheese and a juice and a 3-pack of butter cookies. I ate half of it this morning and was going to eat the other half for lunch. But I was sitting at the lunch table with a few of my classmates. One of my classmates had brought her boyfriend. She's a junior and he's a senior. And I hadn't eaten the other half of my sandwich, and he kept bothering me. He kept asking me for a cookie, a waterfall of my drink, or a part of my sandwich. He's trying to steal my food away from me while I'm not looking, and then playing it off as a joke when I catch him. I looked away for 1 second because I was laughing, and I look over and he's eating one of my cookies that I hadn't opened yet. So I got mad and took the pack away and told him to stop touching my stuff. I kept telling him to stop touching my stuff, and he kept trying to take it. I even told my classmate to get him, and she laughed and told him to knock it off. Then I looked away again and I turned back around, and he was eating the other half of my sandwich. So I got mad and yelled at him, and I told him, "Stop touching my food." And I was so angry about it, and I went off on him, saying that he had no right to eat my food and that I want him to replace my sandwich. A teacher then came over to ask what the problem was, so I explained. And the teacher told him to either hand her some money so that way she could run and get me a new sandwich. He buys me a new sandwich after school. Or they go to the principal and they have a talk with his parents. So he gives her the money to get me a new sandwich. My classmate then told me how I was a bitch and that I was overreacting and it's just a sandwich. So I told her, "We don't go on lunch until 1. We have 47 minutes to eat, and I have to make my food last until I go home. We get out at 3:10, and I don't get home until 4:10 because of the bus and traffic. So it's more than a sandwich to me. That is my meal for the day until I go home, and I'm on a budget." She then left me alone and spoke loudly to her friends about how it wasn't that serious. So, AITA for yelling at her boyfriend? NTA, he was bullying you with your food. He's an a-hole. It wasn't about hunger or not having the ability to buy his own food. He was messing with the freshman because he thought he could. Unfortunately, your friend is also an a-hole to allow it. You don't want friends that will allow their boyfriends to be mean to you and be the cause of you going hungry. If my HSBF had done that, I would have shut that shit down immediately and made him buy you a new sandwich and cookies. If she doesn't see that, then you are better off distancing yourself from her. Also, hide your food when they come around. Good luck. NTA, you did great for standing up to yourself. And if this guy ever tries to sit near you again, stand up and go to another seat. You don't touch other people's food. And you don't eat other people's food without asking. and getting a yes. He and the girls seem like bullies. NTA, I would have went off on him the first time. He apparently has money, since he gave money to the teacher to replace your sandwich. So he needs to get himself something and leave other people's food alone. Probably an a-hole senior trying to bully a freshman.